Hello, and welcome to another episode of Incontro Podcast, the podcast that brings back into circulation stories of vintage design. I'm Virginia Napoleone, and today I'm here in Florence with a very special guest, Arturo Galansino, director of Palazzo Strozzi, a celebrated art historian and curator, and a good friend. Welcome, Arturo.
Thank you, Virginia. It's a pleasure being with you tonight. The first time we have not seen each other. So welcome back to Florence, your town, actually.
Yes, it's a real pleasure being here, and we are actually in the palace in the exhibition with Jeff Koons' works of art. And Arturo, we really invite here on our podcast art lovers, art experts, vintage lovers. And we like to talk about places that inspire them and that really can prove to be in time, always successful in time. And you and your curators brought together here great masterpieces, both old masters, spanning from sculptures by Michelangelo, Donatello, Verrocchio, and paintings by Rosso Fiorentino, Bronzino, Pontormo, and many more. And then this place is also inspirational for contemporary artists. So what's the secret behind these walls?
Yes, these spaces are really magic. I think this is a magical showcase. And all the artists and curators love to work here because the proportion of this room are just perfect. Actually, this palace was built following the golden La Regolare. And I think you can still find it very present in this space, in this proportion. By the way, yes, you're right. Our program spans from old master to contemporary. And it's a little bit of paradox, but to rediscover Palazzo Strozzi, we have to visit contemporary art show. Because in the contemporary art show, like today with this big Jeff Koons exhibition, we are able to clean, let's say, the dead spaces. Because all these rooms are a lot of windows, there's a lot of old walls that we cannot touch, we cannot use to hang them. So, for our old master show, we always have to cover the walls using the so-called fake walls, But thanks to the contemporary artists like Jeff Koons, they love to display the big installation, the big sculpture in the center of the room. We can leave the palace breathing. We can remove all the fake walls, and like you can see today, we can, for instance, have all these beautiful windows, the beautiful fireplace, and after we are going to see, and many other Renaissance original or not original elements, which are so important for the identity of this place. So, through the lens of contemporary art, we are able to rediscover Palazzo Strozzi.
Okay, so we usually ask our guests to talk about a place that is very special to them, a memory for them, or significant for what it is. And I guess today we will talk about the palace more in depth, looking at all the features that are here that maybe are not so well known. So please follow us through this journey with Arturo inside and outside the palazzo. Maybe I have one kind of introduction can make about the restoration of the palazzo and what happened through the years from the Renaissance to today.
This place is really interesting. The palace was founded at the end of 15th century, 1489 is the exact date of the foundation. The founder was Filippo Strozzi, banker and trader, one of the most powerful and probably the richest man of his time. He was a fierce rival of Lorenzo Magnifico, the ruler of Florence, and he was exiled for more than 20 years. So this palace, the foundation of this palace was a very strong statement for Filippo because it was the celebration of his coming back. So Filippo came back in a very great style, building the biggest palace of the Florence of the time. And what we can find today, of course, is a mixture of many layers, more than 5 centuries of layers. Today we have this idea of Palazzo Strozzi as a very pure 15th century space, but actually it's not actually the case because this palace was refurbished and restored many times and was never finished. Basically, in the palace, the shape that we can find today is a 1940s shape. The palace was sold by the Strozzi family at the end of the 30s and bought by the state. Yeah. Today, Palazzo Strozzi is an exhibition space, a very important one in Italy. We know the interior spaces as very pure 15th century Renaissance rooms, but actually we know that they are not original because they were restored through the century. They changed a lot since the 15th century until the last big refurbishment of the palace, which was in more or less around 1940, in the 40s, let's say. So the architect Giovannozzi, between the end of the 30s and the beginning of the 1940s, recreated Palazzo Strozzi in a 15th century, but of course, this is not the original shape of Palazzo Strozzi. But inside our room on the first floor, at the Piano Nobile, we can find many original elements. For instance, the big fireplace of white and red marble that you can see behind me. This was found in the basement of the Palazzo, in the cave, and it was then installed in this room that was called the Sala da Ballo, the ballroom.
Arturo, when we visit Palazzo Strozzi, our eyes are often drawn by the works of art that you select for the rooms of the Palazzo. But there are some features inside and outside this building that tell us the story of the building and of the people who live here. Can you please give us some insights into these features and tell us something that maybe is not so well known by the public?
Yes, behind me you can see a perfect example of this Renaissance revival, which was part of the Renaissance of Palazzo Strozzi itself. So we are here at the end of the 19th century where this big fireplace was created as a perfect forgery of a Renaissance fireplace. Actually, many experts were not able to recognize which part is original and which part is actually a fake, a reproduction of a Renaissance stone sculpture. Behind me, you can see many typical elements and imagery of the Strozzi family. Of course, you have the coat of arms of the Strozzi family, the three crescent moons, which are typical of our palace. Then you have the lamb and the falcon. They were two symbols linked to the story of Filippo Strozzi, who, as you know, was exiled. So he was strong as a falcon and very patient as a lamb, because he waited for 20 years in Naples before coming back to Florence.
Definitely a great story. Shall we walk outside and see some other special elements of Palazzo Strozzi?
Everybody knows that Palazzo Strozzi is a masterpiece of Renaissance architecture. We can say is the prototype of the Renaissance palace in Florence. But very few people know about these very important iron elements that you can see here behind me. Decoration is a ring for the torches, or this lantern that you can see on the corner of Palazzo Strozzi. These iron elements were really important, where they were masterpieces of this technique at the time. The artist, you can say the artisan, who produced these kind of elements that you can find all around Palazzo Strozzi, was Niccolo Grosso, called the Caparra. Caparra in Italian means deposit. He was the blacksmith of Lorenzo il Magnifico, and he always wanted to have a deposit before starting to work on the commission. And we can still find these very important pieces today. They are original, they are outside Palazzo Strozzi. Everybody can admire it every day. Talking about the lanterns, you see this very peculiar shape. We find this kind of leaves on top of the lantern. Basically, they were inspired by Piazza Strozzi, because Piazza Strozzi at the time we had the market of the onions. So the square was called the Onion Square, and so the leaves on top of the lantern remind us the onions.
Thank you for following us on this journey to Palazzo Strozzi with Arturo, General Director of the Palazzo here in Florence. This is Intondo Podcast, and I'm Giuliana Correone. For other vintage design stories, please follow us on our page and visit Intondo.com.
Thank you, Virginia, for coming, and ciao to all the Tondo friends.